Okay, so today you're going to need paper and pen, or grab your laptop, get your iPad. You can put this on pause, and I'll wait for you to come back, because we're going to get into not just what the differences are or the comparisons are of a digital nomad and expat, but let's start going a little deeper to solve today's problems and set yourself up for tomorrow, because there is a point, several points as a matter of fact, where the two lifestyle choices converge and one can support the other. So if you are dissatisfied with what is happening right now in America, and you're really trying, really serious about improving your lifestyle, this ain't it. The crap we're going through in America is not it, and you want better, you want more, then this is the video for you. This is the time that we're going to start really laying out that roadmap and looking at some different options so that you have a more fulfilling life. Okay. Okay. So like I said, take out paper and pen, because it is the top of 2025 and we need to get down to business. And I'm doing this in January, with the hopes that this is going to set a lot of your a lot of you to set your feet firm and getting that plan together so that you can do what you want to do. Okay, whether that is to leave the United States permanently, or for a short period of time, or just open up the opportunities for you to go back and forth freely or travel freely. Whatever it is you want, I'm hoping that the information that you get today will help you get that underway. Okay. Now, we're going to start with looking at a roadmap for digital nomad. And I want to break this myth. I want to kind of break the mold of whatever it is you think of, what perception you have of a digital nomad. Okay? I want to move away from the IG perfect photos with digital nomads, all at the beach and in the hammocks, and with the laptops and the coconut. And I want to just break the mold, because a digital nomad, especially, come on, we're 2025, and things are moving fast. If you don't know how fast technology and everything is moving, let me just give you a little insight. I recently learned that by 2027, more than 50% of the American workforce will be entrepreneurial or freelance. Okay, not W-2 workers. The face of the workplace is changing. Okay, and I'm not saying that to scare you at all, because I don't want to, but I do want to set fire up under some of us. Okay, because you can't just be complacent. Or you put it like this, you shouldn't. I don't advise people to be complacent. If your life is not what you want it to be, now is the time to fix it. So this is a fix it video. Okay, so a digital nomad is just someone who, you have the means to work from anywhere. You're not going into an office, and you can pick up your electronic devices and go anywhere you want to live. And there are people doing that every single day. There are people who are setting their lives up to do that every single day. I see it when I am living in certain places. I see and I get to meet people from all over the world. This is not just an American thing. I think we might be a little I don't know what the real statistic is, but we might be a small percentage of the people who are really setting themselves up like this. I see people from all over the world when I sit down and talk to them. Um, you know, they just set themselves up like this in the last 2-3 years, you know, and they are now able to, go live wherever they want, and it maybe wherever they want is one of the popular destinations for digital nomading, like Croatia or Bali or Barcelona, wherever. And then maybe it's not. Maybe it's a hidden gem. It's an off the beaten path. The point is they can go with it wherever they want. Okay. Don't have your behind so cemented somewhere that you don't move until shit happens, until you're pushed off of the lily pad. Okay. So I want you to just open up your mind as we go over this roadmap. All right. So number one, when it comes to being a digital nomad, the primary goal for most of us is freedom, flexibility, fulfillment. For an expat, on the other hand, is generally stability. People are moving with their jobs. People are moving entire families. People are, relocating permanently because they're retired now, things like that. Okay. Those are distinctions, but there's some overlap because you can live as a digital nomad even while you're searching for where you want to live permanently. So for those of you who have subscribed to my channel and subscribed to a lot of the groups or are in a lot of the groups on how to black sit or what have you, I implore you, don't rule out, if you have the capability or can set this up for yourself, don't rule out the option of being a digital nomad first. When I first really first started on this journey, I started with the mindset of looking for a permanent place. Okay. And I set out to do the permanent move, to expat, really, within 12 to 24 months. The more I traveled, the slower and okay, and I'm not going to say COVID didn't impact this too, but I'm not going to go into the COVID journey. But the longer and more places I went, the more I realized there was more I wanted to see and experience. Okay, first. So, and we hear about people going somewhere and then, a couple of years later, they're right back in the US because they chose the wrong place, because they're leaving the US with the mindset of thinking permanency, permanency, permanency. Be open to being a digital nomad first. Be open to slow travel. Don't look at going to do your scouting trips just for 2 weeks or 1 week or what have you. Go for 3 months, go for 6 months, go back and forth several times. This is how you end up finding places that may not even have been on your list. This is how when you go somewhere, you can get to see surrounding places as well, because you're there for an extended period of time. Okay. So let me not get ahead of myself. Let's look at step one. We're clear with digital nomad is about the freedom, the flexibility, and fulfillment. And yes, you can do this with a kid. I did this with my son. You can do this with children, okay? Because digital nomading doesn't mean you're moving every 2 weeks. All righty. Let's look at step one, though. Step one, building your income stream. So as you can see here, because I had to work with notes and I wanted you to see the notes that I have here. You start out with asking yourself some questions. Start out with like 5 questions that I have here. Like, how are you going to leverage the skills that you have so that you can bring in income by working anywhere, right? Now, some people, for them, what they hear is, now let me go get remote jobs, and they go to the sites and they end up creating a job out of looking for a job. That's what I call it. Your new job is looking for a job, because the amount of resumes and the amount of time that I have seen people extend to looking for a remote job has sometimes flawed me. Sometimes I've just been like speechless when I realize, like, even some of my closest friends, where I've said, like, the time you spent looking for that perfect remote job, god damn, you could be selling belt buckles or something. You could have already figured this out. So I don't want you to get caught up in making a job out of looking for a job. Okay. I want you to open your mind up. All right. And and for those of you who have the stable employer who, you can say, hey, I'm gonna do my job as a digital nomad, they're going to be good with, that's great. But even for you, for everybody right now, I recommend having an additional stream of income, period. I recommend that for everybody. So the second question that I have here is, can I create a product or service that solves a specific problem? Okay. And for those of you who are, oh, I'm not an entrepreneur, if you are a freelancer, 1099, I-9, according to the IRS, you are. How you manage your entrepreneurial life is on you. But in technical terms, according to the IRS, you are. Okay. And creating a product or a service that you can sell and have an additional stream of income, you can call yourself whatever you want. It's just a smart thing to do, though. It really is. Especially, there's so many avenues and ways in which you can do it at this stage. Okay. What kind of clients, business do you want to work with? Because, if I'm going to look at my skill set and leverage my skill set so that I can create a situation where I can work from anywhere, work independently from anywhere, I'm going to also have to ask myself, well, who do I want to work with? I had to ask myself this when I decided I was going to take my experience and credentials from being a special education educator. How could I leverage that and travel? So I was like, oh, I'll become a consultant, which, so I created an income for myself, had a small base of students who I was on their IEP team. I did the IEPs, I was a consultant. So you can look at the skill sets that you have and how you can leverage them. Okay. That's just one example of something that I did to form an income. And I had to think about what kind of clients did I want to work with. Did I want to go through agencies? Did I want to go through the schools district, the schools directly, parents? How did I want to, who did I want to be the paying client, right? So you can go B2B, business to business, depending on your sector, or business straight to customer direct. Know your financial goals. How are you going to create an income that's reliable? Okay. So that is, of course, top of mind if you're going to get this location independent freedom to travel. Now, I do want to highlight, I'm not going to miss this opportunity to highlight, okay, my digital vault, which I just launched. So it's brand spanking new. Why did I didn't see myself doing this. If you would have asked me 6 months ago if I was going to launch a digital vault, I wasn't even a thought. I wasn't going to do it. I didn't think about it. Wasn't an idea. Okay. But by the end of the year, looking at how fast things were moving, and since I do work with people who want to create a digital product or service, have that passive stream of income through digital products, I had to think about the cost of, if I was, going to continue working in a coaching program, if I was going to do agency services, because a lot of people struggle when it comes to building out their online business. Okay. And as many platforms that are out there, it's still daunting for a lot of people. And so they would rather pay somebody to just build everything out for them. So, I didn't really want to expand agency services. So I thought about it, and I wanted to make more affordable, more value affordable. And so I thought, let me do it through a vault. And in the digital vault, you get, if you're looking for sales funnels, if you're looking for email campaigns, if you're looking for digital images, whatever it is, it's basically digital business all in one place, and you grab what you want for one low price of $67 a month. Okay. I'm not going to show it right now because this video is not about that. Okay. But for those of you who are looking for an easy entryway to getting that additional stream of income, there is Arnitha's Digital Vault. Okay. Click on that and at another time so that you can stay focused on what we're talking about here. All right. I've already mentioned, don't get caught up with just, spending a whole lot of time looking for jobs. But let's suffice it to say, your step one is building that income stream. How are you going to be able to leave the United States and go wherever it is that you want to go for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or whatever the time period is, so that you can navigate some countries and improve your life? I'm finding more and more that the impetus for leaving the United States, it was always a certain set of things that was pushing us, right? um for me, I think it really started with Trayvon Martin. I'm not gonna lie, it really started back then. But now, more, I think there's a larger segment of just such incredible dissatisfaction of our quality of life. And even if you have managed to have some stability and a good quality of life, it's all the external factors, you know worrying about your kid when they're going to school. Even myself, when I lived in Las Vegas, I ended up paying a tuition for a school that I didn't like that much, but only because it had a closed campus environment. It was highly respected, and the community, the police, everyone, when it came to students that wore their school hoodies and t-shirts and whatever, just got looked at differently. So I was paying a high behind tuition for safety, for safety, not because the school academics was great, not because I liked the school so much, but I could be elsewhere and attending to work in my business without worrying about, when my son got out of school, him, riding his bike home, getting stopped by the police, getting hassled, or anything like that. It's the external factors and the traumas and the stresses that is just, enough is enough is enough. Not to mention income not always lining up with the cost of living and the food and the MAGA nuts, and it's too much. It's just too goddamn much. Okay, so we just have more and more people looking for other options just to improve their life. Life is short, you got one to live. So it's a lot of us. We're not a small community. All righty. Number two, let's get into choosing your first destination. And excuse me if I kind of go off in different directions. This is okay. So number two, choosing your first destination. All right. Take advantage of visa-free travel. With a US passport, you don't have to get caught up into the visa conversation so early. Okay. If you don't know where you want to go this route. And again, don't put pressure on yourself that doesn't need to be there. Your United States visa will allow you to travel this world, slow travel this world, and not have to worry about a visa in practically most of the world. So you don't have to really get caught up into the visa path until you're ready to stay somewhere long term. But as long as you're looking at 12 months, 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, like you can do, I've been doing it for years, and I never have to apply for a visa. Okay. You can decide today, I'm getting ready to travel for a year. You don't need a visa with a US passport to travel for a year. Okay. You just simply don't. So let's look at that. So I just have some examples here, because this video is not about all the places you can go visa free. So I just have a few examples. If we're looking at um, um, these are just countries in Europe: Portugal, Spain, Croatia, Romania. These are all places that you can go without a visa for 3 months, right? Let's look at, so Portugal, start a 90-day exploration and go all around Portugal. I say, if you're going to be there for 3 months, also go to some other places while you're there. Hop over to Spain for a week. Take a high-speed train, or flight to another country. See more places when you if you're going to touch down somewhere and stay there for 3 months, look at all the other places that you can visit while you're situated centrally in a particular country. Okay, if you're landing touching down first in a Schengen country, then you don't have to leave Europe after that 90 days is up. On your 89th day, head over to a non-Schengen country. You can stay on the continent, go somewhere else, stay somewhere else for 6 months. Okay. And then you can come back into a Schengen country. There's so many ways to do it. You just have to know the rules of the passport in the country. That's it. And the US passport is super flexible. Is it the strongest in the world? No, it's not, but it ain't weak either. Okay, use it to your advantage, and again, use it to explore more than one place at a time, which is what I'm going to talk about more in step 3 if you're following along on the screen. Embrace slow travel, especially if you're talking about redesigning your life to move abroad. Okay, your path doesn't have to be I gotta know where I want to go, and I gotta do all this research, and all my T's got to be crossed and I's got to be dotted. No, embrace slow travel first so that you are more confident when you choose that place you want to move to. So step 3 is extending what I said in step 2 about maximizing your stay. So if you're going to go to Portugal, set aside a few weeks where you're going to go over into Spain and tour places in Spain as well. And look at here, when you're using the rail system, this is very, very low cost, very low cost. Okay. So you're not spending a lot of money to see 4 or 5 neighboring countries, or let's not even think about going so far as going into another country to explore the country that you're in thoroughly. You're not usually spending a whole lot of money, even if it means renting a car. Okay, if you want to. Now, I did that for the first time in 2024. Before then, I was just dealing with whatever mass transit and Ubers and what have you. But I bit the bullet. I always made sure I had the international license in case I wanted to rent, though. Never traveled without that. But this time I actually used it. Okay. So, you can always just rent a car and just have more freedom to navigate the country that you're in. Okay. Or get a moped, get a motorcycle, just explore, explore. Okay. Now, here are 3 what I consider very important things that you should keep top of mind when you're doing this slow travel. Okay? Always, whenever you're going somewhere, approach it not as a tourist. Approach it not as someone who's just coming here just to see the main sites, but approach it for like, is this a place I would or could potentially stay long term? So you want to look at places as you're visiting. You want to look at the cost of living. You want to make some connections. Walk the streets, walk the neighborhoods, the neighborhoods, not just the tourist districts, and walk inside of realtors and sit down and introduce yourself and talk with them. um I actually travel with one of my business cards. One of my business cards is very simple. It just introduces me. It introduces my website. It has a QR code on the back, and this is a good um introduction when I'm just like, meeting realtors or business people, or just if I just, want to keep a connection. I travel with that. Okay. Everyone, and have a WhatsApp account as well. Definitely have a WhatsApp account. That's a great way to exchange contact information, and this is something to also leave them with something, tangible. So that's my travel card. Okay, this is not even one I use so much when I'm in the States, but this is my travel card. Okay. Yeah, talk to people. Talk about, if you um have children, talk to meet other families and talk to them about the schools and day-to-day life and their job and what have you. Make real connections and have real conversations with people, and make sure you go into the supermarkets, the neighborhood supermarkets. This is why when I do my travels, I don't like to stay in the touristy areas. I like to stay in a real neighborhood. I want to go to the local grocery stores and meet everyday people. Those are the types of connections that you want to meet, that you want to make, and that's how you're going to get to know if it's going to be a good fit, a good cultural fit as well. Because that's super 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 important, and it's easier than you might think to strike up conversations with people, because people outside of the US are tend to be more social anyway. Okay, we are not social beings. We're not as social as we think we are. And I'm talking about face to face conversations, unfortunately, and we don't really get to see that until we leave. We think we're good as long as we're here, but if you really think about it, outside of work, outside of your day-to-day movement, how many opportunities are you afforded to meet people you don't already know? And other than a hi, how you doing, little light introductions or what have you, how many conversations are you really substantive conversations are you really having in your day-to-day life in the States? And I find that it's far less than how people navigate their day-to-day life outside of the US. So these conversations are very easy if you're open to them. Now, I do run across and I see on other channels, YouTube channels and what have you, where people didn't have that experience. It was harder for them, or it's all kind of different opinions. I think that sometimes that has to do with your sometimes. So I don't want anybody to come for me, but sometimes it does have to do with your aura. Are you approachable? Are you open? Are you accessible to conversations? I've gotten into conversations sitting on a park bench, sitting in a mall, in a food court, and somebody sitting near me, and it happens organically. But I'm very open to it. It's actually part of my prayer. Um, I I wrote out a prayer a few years ago, and in that prayer, I asked for a part of my day-to-day existence and normal living to meet people, interesting people, and to have interesting conversations, deep, substantive conversations. I wanted that to be a part of my life's journey. And it's actually a part of my prayer. So I'm very open to that connection and that conversation. I'm not afraid of topics that some people may not want to talk about. I'm not afraid of. I'm not, and I'm open to listen to someone from another culture, their perspective and viewpoint on things. um and I'm happy to share my journey as a woman, American woman. So um I think that if you allow yourself this slow travel, it will pay you back. It'll become priceless to you. It really will be. Let's look at the number three thing that I am suggesting as a takeaway for slow travel: opportunities and challenges. Are there opportunities for professional growth, and how easy is it to navigate challenges like language barriers or bureaucracy? That is super important. I think all three of these things: understanding the cost of living, understanding the cultural fit, understanding the opportunities and challenges of a place, are three things you should keep top of mind when you're doing slow travel. Now, let me give you some ideas on this opportunity and challenge opportunities thing. Okay. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I have a portfolio. I have current resume. I have my credentials, original copies of my education credentials, degrees, anything that I think, if I'm in a certain situation that I may need to show or want to show, I have that in my documents portfolio. And sometimes I will go out into a community just to look for opportunities. And so I'll go, for example, if I see language schools. Okay, I've done this. Language schools, where I will just take my portfolio and just walk in. Just walk in, no appointment, just walk in, introduce myself, say that I'm living on such and such, in such and such neighborhood. Don't give my exact address, but such and such neighborhood, and I'm loving it, and I'm going to be there for 3 months, and I'm just wondering, how does it work if someone wants to work for a few hours, or maybe part-time, teaching English. And if someone has, a few minutes, I have my credentials with me. If someone's available, or, to talk with me now, or, I'm free to come back whenever it's convenient. And believe it or not, now, if you look at the rules, quote unquote rules, or the criteria of, if you want to go to a particular country to work, you apply for this visa, da, 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 da. If I'm following all of those dots, then that means I don't even do that, because I'm there on, with my passport, no visa. But I'm old enough to just go talk to people. Go talk to people. And believe it or not, in places where they say that's not possible, I have been told, because I had things with me, my credentials with me, I have been told, wow, you know what? Would you be interested? We could have you, like 4 hours a week without a problem with the the bureaucracy of it all, without the breaking any laws or what have you. um, or we can keep your information and recommend you to people who may not want to register with the school, may be looking for private tutoring. Okay. That's what I mean when I say, opening up, seeing what possibilities are. Okay. That's just one example. The point is to be prepared. If you are looking for opportunities in a country, then go there prepared for an opportunity to also meet you. Be prepared to have that opportunity. Preparation, preparation plus opportunity equals success. Remember that. Preparation plus well, no. How does that work? Yeah, preparation, you being prepared for the opportunity, equals success. We used to see that on poster boards back in the day. We don't see that kind of stuff anymore. But it's true. Preparation is key. And so as you're doing this slow travel, you've already done the first part of looking at your skill sets, looking at what you want to leverage to make this location independent life possible. So take it and leverage it. Leverage it, you know, um, by being open to opportunities and not being afraid to go in and introduce yourself. Okay. Um, and meet people and talk to people. I have gotten clients. Um, I met with a woman, actually, it was the realtor that I was meeting with. His secretary has a son who is autistic. And by me just opening my mouth and talking and not being afraid to share, yes, where our focus, my conversation is primarily on the real estate with this particular person, but I'm sharing who I am. Okay. And so I ended up working with her son, her paying me to work with her son, with his academics. Okay. So this is what I mean about three takeaways that you should have in the back of your mind as you're doing slow travel. And don't just, here's another thing that I don't have written here that I want to add. Don't just look at a me perspective, a mindset when you're somewhere. It's not just about, well, what do I need and what do I want and what am I looking for? It's how do I fit in? What do I offer this community? How do I blend in with it? And how do I and it's a I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but I hope you get the meaning of what I'm saying. Because if you ultimately, if ultimately you're looking to be an expat, you're using the digital nomad slow travel roadmap, but ultimately you're looking for where you can settle, right? If that's the case, then it's not just all about you. It's about an acclimation. It's about an immersion into a different way of life and into a community. So it's not so me centered, if that makes sense. Okay. Yes, it's some selfish components, but I hope you get what I'm saying. Let's keep going. Step 4 on our digital nomad roadmap: simplifying your finances. I think in another video I had recommended Revolut. I'll make sure there's a link to Revolut with this video. I got to tell you, managing my finances in between with currency conversions and in between countries was, I never had, I'm not an expert on it. I never had like the I never had it down pat. I was just, learning on the go. Um, but it was in a co-live building, in a co-live building, meeting people, developing, relationships and conversations, where I started getting, the 411 on how to keep more money in my pocket and not to pay as many fees and so forth. Revolut has become a saving grace for me. It is super easy to go in between different currencies, to do your transfers, to save on those fees and what have you. So I really highly recommend, you want to do something that's super streamlined when it comes to going in between your currency conversions and dealing with your US dollar, and in your whole banking situation. Simplify your finances. And excuse me, and I'll take it a step further and say, um, also simplify your finances in a way where it's very easy to keep up with what you're spending. Okay, whether it's buying your train ticket, your train and bus pass for the week or for the month, you know, you're paying for your cell phone, month to month, how, the eating out. Yes, it's so easy. You probably will eat out a lot more once you leave the US, because if you're in a neighborhood, in most countries food is just not as expensive, and street food is not as, it's just so easy. Like you can go spend a whole day out and come back and go, gosh, I spent did I spend $20 today between all the, getting something to drink, eating lunch, getting snacks, getting this, grabbing that. You're not spending a whole lot like you are in the US. It seems like every time we walk into the store here, we're spending $50, $100. Every time we walk into a restaurant, we're spending 25 plus dollars. No, but you still, even though you're spending less, you want to keep up with your expenses. Okay. Because when it comes to tax time, if you are really doing slow travel for an extended period of time, whether or not how you file your taxes at the end of the year is going to first be determined by how many days did you spend inside of the US versus outside of the US. And excuse me. And if you meet that threshold of spending the majority of the year outside of the US, then even your rent that you paid for that apartment in whatever country, in Portugal, in Spain, and Rwanda, wherever, all of that is a write-off. All of it. It becomes pretty good. Okay. All righty. Now, let's compare this, and excuse me. Okay, so we said digital nomad roadmap, freedom, flexibility is top of mind. On the other hand, what's top of mind for an expat is stability. Stability. I have here on the screen community, quality of life, but community and quality of life is also top of mind for a digital nomad, but especially for an expat, because for an expat, now you're saying this is the country that I'm applying for a visa in. This is the country that I'm going to live in permanently. And I'll use the word permanently loosely, right? Because we can move whenever we want. But let's look at the differences in the roadmap. And I hope you start seeing the connection on how one can lead to the other. You don't have to make a stark, like, well, which is it going to be? It's not one or the other. One can lead right to the other. It could be your roadmap could start with being a digital nomad, and then you decide where you want to be an expat. So step one on the expat roadmap is defining your why. Your journey starts with clarity, okay? Knowing what's motivating you to become an expat, and knowing your why, basically, knowing your why, defining your why. I can't help but to refer you to day one of the 5-day Living Abroad Challenge that's inside of the RYL Abroad community. This is the day that I implore people never to skip, never to skip. Because this is the very selfish part. This is where you get into what truly is important to you, and you start identifying why you want to even consider this big of a move, right? What are you looking for when you get to where you're saying you want to go? What do you want your day-to-day to look like? What opportunities do you want to see? This is when things that you may have already put on hold, being in the United States, put it back on the table. It's on deck again. You want to go back to school? Why not look at going to school outside of the US? Right? Why not look at, maybe you don't live in the kind of neighborhood that you want to live in the US. Why not look at that and consider what would be your ideal neighborhood outside of the US? What do you want from all of that? That's what day one in the Living Abroad Challenge is all about: defining your priorities, your goals, your reasoning for wanting to leave, what you're looking for in the short term and the long term, so that you have a clear, solid direction that is really customized and geared to you. It's not somebody else's story. It's the story that you are starting to write. Okay. I implore you not to skip that part. Step two, researching. Now, this is where your visa research comes in, is when you want to be an expat. Now, notice, being a digital nomad, we didn't have to get into visa options unless you go to a place and you go, I like this place so much that I want to apply for the digital nomad visa so that I can stay here longer. You can decide that even while you're in a country. You can decide that then. Okay, there are digital nomad visas. I've done videos on them. You have tons and tons of options. But now when you're getting into the resident visas, now you're talking about your retirement visas, your non-lucrative visas, your student visas, your work visas, not digital nomad visas. Digital nomad visas, you are bringing your own income. You work for an employer. Are you a self-employed? In some cases, self-employment can be acceptable depending on the country. Where but for the long-term visa, it's a different ball game. Okay, and you have to look at the country that you've decided you want to be an expat in. You're going to have to go into the weeds of what their requirements are. All right, but what's popular is the gold for expats are the golden visas, the investment visas. So you're going to buy something, you're going to put X amount of investment into that country to grant you an automatic visa. Okay, that amount could be different levels depending on the country. Okay, or you're going to use your retirement income and just apply for a pension, retirement visa, or a non-lucrative visa, which is great for people who have dividends and investment income, coming into them. Those are three common pathways for expats. Another, especially if you're younger and you're working, you're moving with an employer, or you've gotten a job in that country. A lot of Northern European companies and Japanese companies will bring people in to work at in their companies. Germany, a lot of places, so there's a lot of expats around the world that are there with their corporations. Okay, those are another form of visa. Step three. Step three, your financial stability and housing options. Now, most of the time when you're moving through a company, you don't have to worry about housing a lot because they'll have their recommendations. You'll have your stipend, and sometimes the companies will give you stipends for your housing. You'll have assistance. You'll have a international relocation consultant usually that you're working with, that's just making everything smooth, just making that path a lot smoother for you. If you watch HTTV International, a lot of times when people are moving with companies, you see how that works. They tell you what amount they have to spend via the company, and it's easy peasy. But if you are doing this without moving with a company, and you're just moving to retire, or on a non-lucrative, then I would say you should decide how committed are you do you want to rent or do you want to buy? Okay. um if you're unsure of how the construction and mortgages, or just how their building laws are, I would say play it safe and definitely rent. Okay, but it is a question, if you're going to be an expat, that you want to ask yourself, right? Do you want to rent or do you want to buy? Okay, I think this is a great opportunity for me to talk about Spain, because anybody who knows me knows that I have a program called Buy Spain. So I'm going to give you three reasons, even if you're not considering being an expat in Spain, why Spain is a good investment. Okay, I'm going to use this opportunity. Number one, the affordability of the housing market, the stability of the housing market in Spain is solid. Their building laws are very solid. Their regulations, even if you're buying off market, is a lot of checks and balances systems. So I'm not going to say never something can't happen, but you will rarely hear about scams and people buying property in Spain because there's a lot of checks and balances. Again, I'm going to always leave that little slice for people who mean harm. Sometimes they find ways to get around things, but I like and I feel good about their checks and balance systems, and about their building laws and criterias. Okay, I can't attest to the older fixer upper properties. Don't know what the laws were back then. I'm not investing in fixer uppers at this time, so I am talking about the new builds. Okay, it is a path to, well, it's not a path to residency because they're going to be doing away with their golden visa. Their golden visa had a 500,000 euro investment on it. That's going away. So let's just take that off the table. Quality of life is going to always be a good thing when it comes to Spain. So even if you're investing in a property there, maybe you want to invest now and so that you can have it so that it could be the property you retire in. It's a great idea. A really, really, really good idea. Okay. So if you want more information about that, head over to my website, arnithaweb.com/buy-Spain. Okay. Join the mailing list and I can get you more information about that. Let's keep it going and look at step 4. Immerse yourself in the culture. Immerse yourself in the culture. If you have chosen a place that you definitely know you want to apply for that long-term resident visa, you want to be an expat. Like I said before, it's very important to live, in the neighborhoods, but get to know a lot of things about that country. Visit the UNESCO sites, visit the common, places, of course, the common touristy places. But I think another thing that I find to be a good cultural immersion is cooking classes, attending and participating in local festivals, um, anything that is putting you around the locals and what they're doing and how they are celebrating their particular holidays. Anything like that will help you get immersed into that culture. Okay. Okay. So lastly, conclusion, next steps. Both the digital nomad and expat choice lifestyle, right, offers incredible opportunities to redesign your life. The key is to start with a clear plan, focus on your goals, take small actionable steps. Now, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, okay? I'm hoping I'm hoping that by seeing two distinct roadmaps that you understand that your options to leaving the United States, to improving your life, is way more vast and accessible. There's no one way. You don't have to choose one over the other. You can write your own terms. That's where my when you hear me say, doing this on your living your life on your own terms, that's what I mean. You don't have to sit down and go, well, I'm a teacher, so I got to go to teach abroad path. I got to get the teach English as a foreign language path, the remote job path, the digital nomad. You don't have to fit nice and tidy into anybody's box. Okay. The first thing you have to do is know what it is you want, know where you're trying to get to. Then look at these options. These two roadmaps are super doable. Super doable. You could take this roadmap, you could take the digital nomad roadmap right now, and in the next couple of months, be out there already on your quote unquote exploration scouting trips, especially if you know your ultimate goal is to be an expat. Don't sit here in the US and wait for your 2 week, 3 week vacation to go somewhere as a way to scout countries. That is what I'm saying. You don't have to wait. You can get out there and go live abroad while you are looking for where you want to set roots down. Go live abroad. Use that United States passport to your advantage. Okay. Now, if you haven't looked at some of my current videos on co-living, I'm going to be doing more on co-living because that is such a viable option um, if you're going to do slow travel. Okay. Co-living options. There's so many short-term living apartments. You don't have to go the Airbnb route at all. You can be building up your connections with local realtors, right now by just renting with one of them for 3 months. Okay. Um, Join the RYL Abroad community if you want to have location independent life. Alrighty. Look further into my digital vault. I created that so that you have a very low entryway into creating a digital product, for a stream of income for yourself. Okay, if you have a current business, use it to increase your sales. So I'm going to end this right here with where we are. We might be circling back. I will look at the comments. Please leave comments, um, so that I know, what your questions are, where to go. If I need to delve into any part of this video that I didn't go further enough into, then leave me a comment so that I can answer more questions. Okay. So until next time, hit the subscribe if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, and definitely hit the like and share. And let's get about the business of creating the life that you really deserve and want. Okay. Ciao.